I'm Lorna Dawson and I'm a research scientist here at the James Hutton Institute in Aberdeen. Well, that's a good question, because one of the fantastic things about soil science is it involves multiple disciplines. It involves biology, chemistry, physics, human interaction, economics, sociology, all of these many facets that come together in one science. And it's bringing that together makes it such an interesting subject to study and to work with. But analogous to that really is medicine, because to be able to diagnose what a problem is with a human being, the physician also has to understand multiple disciplines and understand how they interact so that they can come up with the appropriate diagnosis and the appropriate treatment. So similar to that, if I'm looking at a soil that's maybe been affected by erosion or by over cultivation, then I would look at it with indicators, like a doctor would look at symptoms or signs in a human. And we'd use those indicators to try and resolve that. And also one of the functions of a soil scientist is to prevent problems, as it is with a physician, as to try and prevent health issues in the future. So there's quite a comparability between those two different types of professions. Soils are so important for a whole multitude of reasons, but by the very nature that they cover most of our terrestrial planet, and they give us the food that we eat. We are so grateful for having enough food in this developed part of the world. But in the developed and developed nations, we have almost too much food. And it's this imbalance with developing nations where food production is really a crucial issue. That's only one of the functions that soils provide, one of the key ones. Other areas is that the soils actually filter and buffer the water that we drink. So we can rely on the fact that we can get good, clean, fresh water to drink, another vital human function. The other area that soil gives us is clean air to breathe. If we didn't have the clean soils to give us the pure air without nasty chemicals, then we wouldn't be able to live good long lives on this planet. And soils also, they perform cultural functions to us, in that they hide many of our ancient artifacts that have been left by our ancestors. So within them, they have got vast amounts of information and secrets that tell us about our past. They also provide well-being, in that the joy and the cultural benefits people get from walking on the land, from walking in green spaces. They wouldn't be there if it wasn't for the soil that's beneath them. We all saw the great risks that happen as a result of perhaps not having integrated planning. For example, from the vast floods that we had in 2015 and 16, towns were wiped out, such as Ballater, for example, in the Deeside area here. They came rapidly, the rain, and the soils, perhaps there were areas where they weren't able to, the water to be absorbed appropriately. Areas were left exposed. And if you don't plant on soils, if you don't protect them, then potentially that energy that comes from massive rainfall can move that down the slope, down the stream, and down that catchment, thus impacting on houses and towns further down that area. If we don't look after the soils, then the huge impact will be that there'll be devastation, economic, and even worse, there would be human consequence, loss of life. This is much worse, of course, in developing nations, where consequences of soil erosion are quite devastating for supply of food and water for the population there. And in fact, I think it's over 40% of the soils in Africa are in fact currently degraded. So they're not performing the functions of supplying food and water and safe air and for the population. And indeed, more than 80% of the people in some of the areas in sub-Saharan Africa rely on the soil for their very life, for their very being.
I think that as robots become more advanced, we will want them to respond in a human manner, so that they can respond to us being angry by being more quiet or more polite.